What's up, everybody? This is the Born to Win podcast, and we're so excited that you tuned in today because we are in. I need for you to grab your seatbelts, buckle them real tight because we're about to go on a ride that you've never been on. Listen, everybody, we can impact change right now. Our special guest, this brother right here, oh my goodness. What can I say about brother Jemal King? He's better known as the 9 to 5 Millionaire. My Chi-Town brother is here and he's live as a podcast guest. And I'm telling you, I need for you to block every distraction out the way, right? Get your notepad out and get ready to take some notes. And here's what you're going to do with those notes. You're going to apply the very thing that you're writing down, because what he's going to share is going to be wisdom and practical advice.
The kid turns around, pushes me, take off and running. Now I told y'all 2 months ago I was just training for the NFL. So I was like, yo, dude, kid, you really want to do this? Like, I'm trying to make some tackles real quick, you know? Hey, that PTSD is for real. And so I take off and I chase after the kid running down a dark alley. And then I'm like 5 yards behind him. And then the kid dashes off in between 2 apartment buildings. The kid can't go left or right. He can only go straight. In front of him is this tall, like 10-foot fence with barbed wire in it. So the kid runs, jumps up on the fence, is trying to climb over and getting caught up in the barbed wire.
I want to give a Born to Win welcome to my brother, Jemal King from Chicago. Welcome, Jemal.
Hey, let's go, bro. Let's go. Hey, that's the best introduction I have ever had. And I've been doing, I don't know, man, I've been on at least 100 podcasts, but that was the best introduction, bro. And man, I appreciate you, man. I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to be here. When I found out you had a podcast, I believe this is the 3rd episode, maybe? Yep. Yeah. I was like, man, look, I got to be part of it. Bruh, anything that you doing, I got to be part of, bruh. So, man, it's an honor, a privilege, bruh. And, man, it feels good to actually be on a hometown podcast, bruh.
Hometown, Chi-Town. We right down the street from each other, y'all. I know you looking at Jemal King, and I had the opportunity, man, to visit the mansion, the King's Mansion, the Palace on King Drive in the Bronxville community where I'm born and raised, baby. So, man, how you doing, bro?
Man, you know, we blessed, bro. We blessed. You know, in light of everything that's going on in the world, man, we still counting our blessings, man. We got too many blessings, dog, that's in our life to be sad or to be down or discouraged about what's taking place, bro. God is still good, man.
Yes, he is, man. And so for those of you who don't know, I met Jemal King actually through another brother that everybody knows, Dr. Eric Thomas, E.T. the hip-hop preacher. He actually introduced me to Jemal King, and man, it was just like we've been locked in ever since. Yeah. So it's a lot of people that may not know your story. So if you just brief the people on who you are, tell us a little bit about your story.
Man, well, hey, bro, I was born to a family of blue collar, workers, right? I was born to a family of police officers. My dad was a cop. My mother was a cop. My brother was a cop. My sister was a dispatcher, uncles. I like to say, bro, I come from a family of cops and criminals. Half of the family was police officers and the other half was criminals. And cops and criminals, bro, straight up. Either that was the family business. You was either on one side of the law or you was on the other side of the law. And, I wanted something different, bro. I wanted something different. I wanted to be the difference maker in my family. And I did not want to become a cop. Vondale, I was like, man, I ain't gonna, bro, look, y'all could be the police. I ain't want to be a criminal either. So, I ain't want to be a criminal. I said, I want to find that, I want to do something different. And so, growing up, even in my community, bro, everybody on the block, like probably every fifth house was a police officer or a city worker. And I just was like, man, I got to do something different. I want to be able to, all of the houses in my community look the same. Everybody drove the same kind of car. Everybody went to the same school. It was like everybody came home from work at the same time. everything was the same. And I said, man, I want something different, man. I want different, not just for me, but for my future family. And so, man, I said that, hey, you know, I want to be a millionaire. And I didn't know what a millionaire really was at that age. You know, when I was 8 years old and I first put it out there, I first proclaimed this, but I just used to see images online. Remember Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous? You know, before MTV Cribs came out, you know, Vondale, he a little older like me. You know, it was a thing that we used to watch called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And that was the only exposure that we actually got at the time to actually say, man, I want to live like this. I want a big house. What I saw something that was like, well, all of the houses didn't look the same. You know, the income levels wasn't the same. And I said, man, I want something like that too. And so, man, I just said that, you know, I didn't know how to be a CEO, and I wasn't around CEOs, you know. So I said the only thing that I saw was like Deion Sanders and these cats, man, out there playing football. You know, Deion too legit to quit, and he was, you know, had all the gold on, and he looked like he was a millionaire. I didn't know if he was a millionaire or not, but he looked like he was a millionaire. And I said, man, I want that lifestyle.
Yes, sir.
Minus the Jerry curl.
I was just about to bring the Jerry curl up, number 21, dripping and dropping, going down, hot stepping.
Oh, man. Yeah. Remember, he used to do the hot stepping Jerry curl juice just falling back.
Yes, sir.
But I just said I wanted to, so I chose football as the vehicle that I was going to use to become a millionaire. And so I played football, high school, was all state, one of the top football players in the state of Illinois. And then I went on to college, and I was playing college ball, you know, team captain, you know, balling out. And then, you know, I seen guys in front of me getting drafted, and I thought I was going to realize my dream of becoming a millionaire at like 18 years old, you know. And then when the draft happened, bro, you know, I was sitting back and seeing other guys getting drafted, just like it just took place a couple days ago. And as I'm sitting back, I'm hearing my friends getting drafted, and they calling me up, and they just excited. And I never got that phone call, bro. Never got the phone call. But ironically, I ended up getting a different phone call. And I got a phone call from the Chicago Police Department saying, congratulations, you've been accepted into the police department.
Wow.
You know? Yeah, so my parents, they kind of was big on backup plans. And so even though I was a team captain, even though I was putting up numbers, all conference and things like that in college, my parents still kind of was like, hey, you know, hey, it don't cost nothing to just still apply for the police department as a backup plan. And I didn't want to do it, but I was being respectful to my parents. Mm-hmm. And so I just went ahead and did it. And ironically, around the same time of the draft, when I didn't get drafted, I didn't get that phone call from the NFL, the Chicago Bears, telling me that with the 68th pick, Chicago Bears choose Jemal King. But instead, I got a phone call saying, you've been accepted into the class of 2000 Chicago Police Department. And so, bro, I was hurt, man. I was hurt at that moment. I was suffering, bro, from PTSD.
Yeah, talk about that.
Sports disorder.
Post-traumatic sports disorder. So,
post-traumatic sports disorder. A lot of people know it as post-traumatic stress disorder, but, you know, I made this up, post-traumatic sports disorder. And anybody out there that ever played sports, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's when you sitting up, man, and you play ball and you 6'3", 225 pounds. You got the muscle to go along with it. Everything about you says football. Everything about you says NFL. Everything except you. You not in the league, but everybody think you in the league. And so because I proclaimed that I was going to make it to the NFL, everybody reminded me of what it was that I said. They asked me, they would see me in my police uniform and still say, hey man, what happened to the NFL? You know, and it's one of the things that just, you know, man, bro, I remember back when I was in college, even like relatives of mine, my grandma used to be like in her 90s talking about some, you know, did you make it to the NFL? You know, how was your game? So everybody is associated or put this stigma on me about NFL. And really, I just wanted to be a millionaire. The NFL was just a vehicle that I was going to use to get me to where I wanted to go in life. It was going to get me to my destination in life, but I technically did not want to. I wasn't gung-ho about playing in the NFL, but that was just a vehicle. And so when I was suffering from PTSD, I kind of forgot that the NFL was the vehicle. And I made the NFL actually the destination. And so that's why I was actually suffering from PTSD. I lost my identity. I didn't know who I was anymore, bro.
Let's talk.
I was hiding, bro. I was hiding in the house. When football season started, I used to hide in the house because I didn't want people to see me. Because I just figured people would just, think like, oh, maybe he playing on the team. I mean, I remember guys used to be like, hey, Jay, I'm looking, the internet wasn't that big in 2000. So, so people couldn't really just Google search you. And so people was just like, hey, Jay, I'm looking on the Bears. And or there used to be it was a player on the team named King. He had the last name King. And Cash used to be like, man, Jay, he was a defensive lineman or offensive lineman. Yeah. And so he was huge. And Cash used to be like, man, bro, did you pick up weight? Like they used to think that was me. And so, yeah, bro, I was embarrassed. I was hurt, man. And most importantly, bro, I was lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And so, yeah, it wasn't until I kind of had to sit back and really do some soul searching, And as a matter of fact, it was before when my friend of mine did make it to the NFL. And he was a college roommate of mine. And my man was broke in college. I used to loan him my car, money, clothes, everything. And I saw how his life changed when he made it to the NFL. So here it is now. My man, he's living my dream, right? And the crazy part about it, he didn't even really want to go to the NFL. Here it is. I'm in college telling people I'm going to go to the NFL. And I ended up going to the police department. My man wasn't telling nobody nothing in college. And he ended up going to the NFL. And he ended up making a lot of money, man. And it wasn't until I went and visited him that I got exposed. I got exposed to the lifestyles of the rich and famous in person. I got that exposure up close and personal. That exposure that I saw as a kid. And what happened was when I went and I got that exposure, when I went and visited him, it did something to me. It reminded me that it wasn't about football, Jemal. It was about the destination. And the reason behind it was that you wanted to become a millionaire because you wanted to take care of your family. You wanted to give your children a better life than what you had. You wanted to take care of your parents one day. It was the purpose behind the reasoning of becoming a millionaire. And so I said, wait a minute. Football was nothing but a vehicle. So that means that just like I can go get another vehicle on a car lot, I can get another vehicle to still get me to my destination in life. And so that's when I really woke up and I said, wow, I made football, the NFL, the destination, and that wasn't it. Yeah. That was just a vehicle. So now I need to get my butt back on track and I need to come up with another vehicle because I still got a lot of life left in me. Yeah. I'm still going to get to my destination. Yeah. And so that's pretty much, that's the short story. That's the short story. And so, so going from that, man, I just went and found another vehicle, bro. Yeah. And I made that other vehicle real estate, and I used that vehicle to get me to my other vehicles. So I got real estate. Then once I started purchasing a bunch of properties, I saw how my life started changing. I saw how I was getting closer to my destination. And then what I did, I went from real estate and then I transitioned and used real estate to get me into a chain of daycare centers that we started. Yeah. And then so now real estate, if you look at real estate was a nice car. The police department was like a 1993 Chevy Blazer that I used to have. It wasn't pretty. Yeah. It wasn't sexy, but it was reliable. Yeah. It gave me the benefits. Yeah. It gave me a paycheck, a steady paycheck. So it was still keeping movement, right? Yeah. And then that vehicle, I was able to transition to real estate. Now that was a pretty nice BMW. And then real estate got me into the business of owning childcare centers. And then now childcare centers was like a nice yacht. And then all of a sudden that yacht got me into the security company. And then the security company I owned, that was like a jet. And then now all of this stuff has gotten me to the point now where now I'm speaking to the NFL. Well, now I'm speaking to Major League, to NBA. Now I'm speaking to thousands and thousands of people. So now that jet now has got me into a rocket ship. Wow. And now I'm taking off. Taking off and like so a that's rocket. That's what it's all about, bro.
Woo. Hey, listen, y'all. This is Jemal King, the 9 to 5 millionaire. So I want to go back because he had the opportunity to share with one of our champs mentoring classes. And he came in and he talked about the time where he met with his coach his senior year, I believe, in college.
Yeah.
And it was about the draft and about what's next and what's supposed to happen. You went in thinking like, all right, I'm about to get my grade on where I'm going to be picked in the draft. Talk us through that story and then talk us through what happened when you got on the Chicago Police Department with the situation with the young man who you were chasing down. You gotta walk us through that.
Oh, for sure. So when so we got this thing, you know, you getting your evaluations, right? And then your coach, this is your senior year. Your coach tells you exactly where you fall in the draft. You know, what's your grade, your NFL grade, and things like that. And so he'll take each player, each senior who has potential to make it to the league, and he had you come in and sit there in his office. The crazy part about it was when you get recruited to go to this school, right? You walk into that same office, and I remember when I got recruited to go there, the coach had all of these different plaques on the wall of all these different ex-NFL players that came through the school. And I remember my coach was like, you know, when he was recruiting me, he was like, yeah, King, can you imagine your picture up here one day? I really believe you come to this school, you come to this university, your picture is going to be on that wall. You're going to be one of the greatest players to ever play here. And you're going to, you know, what NFL team do you want to go to? And I remember, man, I was sold. Remember looking and I saw the whole picture. I remember calling my parents. I'm like, man, Mom, my picture going to be on the wall. I'm going to make it to the NFL and the coaches, you know. And it was crazy because my senior year, when after the last game of the year, he brought me in that same office. And I remember looking at them same pictures on the wall. And I remember saying, like, man, coach, you told me that.
And you were killing it. You were killing it. You were big time. You were one of the captains of the team. You was one of the top players. So I want people to understand he not just having hopeful dreams. Like,
this ain't no false hope or nothing like that. This was real. And my coach, man, he sat me down and was like, you know, hey, King, come on in. And I remember he's like, man, you know, you had a great season, man. You had a great 4 years here. Man, you know, we won 2 conference championships. And he was just like, man, King, you got yourself 2 rings. And he's like, man, you did a great job. And I'm sitting in the office like, man, coach, what's my draft grade? Like, come on. Let's cut the chase, man. What's my draft grade? And he was just talking and bruh, he kind of hit me. And I didn't know where he was going with it at the time, but he was just like, hey, King, how's your dad? And I was like, oh, man, I thought he was just being, you know, he always used to ask me about my parents, how family doing. I was like, man, coach, my dad is doing great, man. He's doing great, you know. And, you know, what's my draft grade? And he was like, yeah, your dad is a Chicago police officer, right? And I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, my dad is a Chicago police officer, you know. Yeah, he's a Chicago police officer. And he's like, okay, yeah. And then he was like, how about your mom? And I was like, my mom is doing good too. I said, my family is doing great, coach. Everybody doing great. And he was like, yeah, your mom is a police officer too, right? I said, yes, sir. My mom is a police officer also. Then he said, have you ever thought about becoming a police officer? Bruh, my heart went to about this size, bruh, because somebody that I looked up to, somebody that told me, I would have ran through a brick wall for him. Somebody that told me that if you come here and you work hard, you give it your all, you do your best, you will make it to the NFL. I'm talking about, bro, I played with broken bones. I broke my arm. I broke 6 fingers. I freaking had surgery on my stomach. I got hit so hard one time, my stomach went into my esophagus. Wow. And they had to take my stomach out and reattach it.
Wow.
I did every single thing, man, that I was supposed to do. I did everything. I showed up, and I didn't just show up, bro. I was the first one of the first ones at practice, one of the last ones to leave. I was in the gym. I did everything I was supposed to do. And for whatever reason, my man is sitting here now telling me that I should think about becoming a police officer, somebody that I would have done anything for, man. I don't know if you ever had somebody that you trusted, somebody that you respected, somebody that you revered, tell you something that goes against your dreams, your hopes, your wishes. But, bro, it's something that just makes your heart just go shrink, bro.
Yeah.
And so, man, that was when, and I said I was going to prove him wrong. That's when I was just like, man, coach, I said, no, that ain't in my future. And at that point, bro, that's when I went and I worked out harder than I ever worked before, man. I'm talking about, and it's the crazy part about it, Vondale, I worked out so hard that now I look back, if I would have worked out that hard when I was playing ball, then maybe I would have got drafted in the first round or so.
Right.
You know, it's amazing how you can push yourself when somebody tells you can't do something. And you know, and that's important, man. So whoever's out there, you know, write that down. Write that down.
Yep.
You know, sometimes you got to look in the mirror yourself and tell yourself you can't do something.
That's right.
So that you can just go back and push yourself even harder.
Yes, sir.
You know, and so I went, man, and I worked out hard, bro. I'm talking about I gave it my all just to prove everybody wrong. And like I told you before in the opening, man, I end up still not getting drafted. I end up, you know, maybe it was too late. And, you know, and that's why it's important about starting off with that feeling. Because sometimes in life, no matter how hard you work, you can't correct the years of lack that you've done.
Right.
And so you got to start off with that kind of passion. You got to start off with that kind of dog. You got to start off from square one and say, hey, I know that in the next 4 years, this is where I'm trying to be in life. Whether it's your grades, whether it's, you know, you want a sport you're playing, you have to act as today as though you're in that position to make it to the league already or to make it to college already. And that's why you got to go in when it comes to your schoolwork. You got to go in when it comes to your grades right now, because a lot of you, where you're at right now, is going to change when you become a senior in high school. Yep. And then all of a sudden you become a senior and you're thinking to yourself, I want to make it to college. But because you didn't do what you were supposed to do in the beginning, it's going to come back and it's going to bite you in the butt.
Yes,
later on in life. And your mentality as a senior, you might really be on the square. You might really be fine. You might really have it together.
Right.
But because you didn't do what you were supposed to do in the beginning, it's going to affect who you become or what you're doing as a senior.
Woo, that's powerful. That is powerful, bro. So from that, your coach is telling you, hey, have you thought about being a police officer? And so this is where I'm assuming the post-traumatic sports disorder started to really kick in.
Yeah, man, it kicked in, bro. I didn't even, man, I'm talking about, bro, even in the police academy, they was teaching us like techniques of taking people down and locking people up. And I was tackling people. Oh, bro, they still talk about me to this day in the academy, man. When everybody went on lunch break, bro, I would be up in the gym, up in the police academy working out because I still believe that somebody was going to get injured, you know, maybe for the Bears, and then they was going to pick up the phone and say, hey,
call you up.
we know Jemal. We know of Jemal. Jemal is, hey, he's still in shape too. He's working in the police department. Yeah. You know, I thought I was going to still get called, man. And so it's just weird, man. Some people, you know, and this is a real thing. You know, I've traveled the world and spoke to different people that played ball. I'm talking about people that didn't make it to the league. I spoke to people that played in the league and maybe, you know, got cut. Bro, this post-traumatic sports disorder, because you give your life to something. I don't know how many people out here have actually given their life. I'm talking about, bro, I said football, actually, you know, my mother was my first love. Football was next.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, she actually fell at number 3. You know, it was my mom, because that was the first person I've ever seen, right? That's your mom. You know, football was number 2.
Yeah.
And I've met football before I met my wife. And then number 3 became my wife. Yeah. And so, man, I was in love with football, bro. When I say in love with it, the psyche behind playing the sport. In order to play a sport at a high level, bro, you have to give it your all.
Yes, sir.
You got to not just give it your all, Vondale. You got to become that sport.
That's it.
That sport got to become you.
Yep.
The two shall become one. Y'all got to become one in order to really take it to the next level, man. And we literally, bro, became one. And then the crazy part about it is that imagine being in a relationship with somebody, right? This is that post-traumatic sports disorder. Yeah. Imagine being in a relationship with somebody. You giving it your all. You're doing everything for her. Everything. You even breaking bones. You will die for her.
Yeah.
If need be. And then all of a sudden, bruh, because you get a little bit older, because you got a few broken bones, she get rid of you. And then she don't just get rid of you. She goes and gets a younger guy.
Ooh.
And then she gives him the same promises she gave you. She tells him.
That's a story right there, bro.
Oh,
that's a whole book.
She tells him that if you play hard, you give it your all.
Yeah.
You give me 4 years. You give it your name. Your picture can go on this wall too.
Yeah.
And then now you got to watch her every single Sunday.
Yeah.
You got to watch her every single Saturday, every Thursday, and Monday night.
Yeah.
You got to watch her with somebody else for the rest of your life and remind you of the life that you could have had, or to remind you of the relationship y'all once had.
Yeah, that's
Bro,
deep.
that's the post-traumatic sports disorder.
Hey, and that's deep. And I'm glad you're talking about this, because many of the young people in our communities in urban America, if you go up to a kid and you say, what do you want to be when you grow up? They either going to tell you, I want to be an NBA player, NFL player, Major League Baseball player, or rapper entertainer.
Yep.
That's 90, almost 95%. And I've talked to thousands and thousands of Chicago youth over the years directly.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And that right there, the disappointment of not fulfilling that dream. Why? Is because you told your mom, you told dad, I'm gonna buy you a house when I make it to the league. When I make it out of here, I'm gonna look out for my community, my village. Right. And then you get the disappointment of not making it. And then you left with, okay, what do I do now? And so you talked about an experience that happened when you got on the police force. It was a routine call you got. And tell me what shifted this whole football vehicle to this whole real estate vehicle. And I think something happened that everybody need to hear this story.
Yeah, but when I got on the police department, like I said, I didn't want to be there. It's crazy because my dad, my brother, my mom, they all been on the job. They was on them at the time for 20 plus years. And they never really had anything traumatic really happen to them. But here it is. I'm a rookie on the job, probably only been on the job for like 2 months, bro. And I'm riding around, man. It was crazy because, the radios, we got our radios, and it was quiet on the radio this day. And, so we was just looking for something to do. And the dispatcher came on the radio and was like, curfew violators outside. And I was like, oh, that's a simple call. We'll take that. And I got on the radio, like, hey, we'll take that, squad. So we drive down the street, bro. We over east, and we see, 5 kids outside. They just out there, but they were younger kids. And it was like, I don't know, maybe about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And they were in an area that, had a lot of shootings. And so we was like, hey, let's go ahead and take these kids home, make sure that they don't get in any trouble, or anything like that. And so, man, we pull up on them. And it was one kid. They were cool. We were cool. I grew up in the area that I worked in, so everybody kind of like, I wasn't one of them police officers that would just be messing with people, And so, man, it was this one kid, man, in particular, bro. I went to him and I was like, hey, let me pat you down, man. I was like, we're gonna take y'all home, but before you put somebody in the back of your squad car, behind you, you want to pat them down, make sure they don't have any weapons, anything on them. And so, man, I went to go pat this kid down, and as I went to go pat him down, the kid pushed me, bro, and then took off and ran. And man, I just got to tell you, I was suffering from PTSD,
right.
And I was just got through training for the NFL harder than I ever trained a day in my life. And so I was like, dog, do you really want to do this? And so the kid took off, man. I chased after him. I gave him a head start. And I was like, I was still suffering from PTSD. And so the kid took off, man. I chased behind him. And the kid dashed and went into a dark alley. And then as the kid was running, bro, I was like 5 yards right behind him.
Yeah.
And then the kid dashed off between 2 apartment buildings. And I was right there with him, man. And then the kid jumped up on top of this fence. And it was like a building. It was an apartment building to the left. It was an apartment building to the right. And in front of us was this huge, like 10-foot fence. And at the top of the fence, it had barbed wire. Kid jumps up on the fence, man, and tries to hop over. He's cutting himself on the barbed wire. And so as he's cutting himself on the barbed wire, I'm like, hey, kid, come on. I'm still cool. He pushed me, whatever. And I'm like, hey, kid, come on, man. Like, I got you. Let me take you home. And so I'm trying to get the kid out the barbed wire because he's cutting himself.
Right.
And as I'm pulling him down from the barbed wire, man, the kid pulls out a Tech 9, Vondale, and points it right at my head, bro.
Wow.
Bro,
put a Tech 9 out and point it to your head. What were you thinking in that moment?
Oh, man, I was just thinking survival, bro. I was just thinking survival. And and like in a split second, I just smacked his hand and the gun to the side. And as I did, he held down the trigger, and then bullets just start flying. Now, as he's holding down the trigger, I'm holding the gun, and I got my hand on it. The fire is coming out of the gun. At the same time, while I'm holding the gun, while he's pulling the trigger, and my hands are just burning from the fire that's coming from the gun. And the kid, man, he didn't stop pulling that. And then the kid shot 16 times. And as the kid we fighting over the gun, my partner finally pulls up in a squad car. And then my partner, it was a dark alley. My partner couldn't see that who was shooting, what was going on. My partner, as we struggle for the gun, bullets is flying. My partner thinks that somebody's shooting at him. And then my partner pulls out his gun and he shoots in both of our direction. And he 16 times he shoots. He just unloading his gun in both of our direction. The kid falls over this other side of the fence. He drops the gun on my side of the fence. He takes off running. I'm taking cover at this point, and my partner's just standing there just shooting, bro.
Wow.
Crazy.
This is like a movie for real.
Nah, bro, hey, it's like a horror story. And, the kid ended up getting away. We ended up getting the gun. I didn't get shot, but the crazy part about it, man, and this is when I knew that I had to make a change. It was when, a sergeant came on the scene and kind of was just like, hey, guys, y'all, the kid got away. That's fine. We'll catch him. And it was like, we got the gun. Good job. It was like, we got a big problem. And I'm thinking to myself, bro, in the back of my head, like, what could be bigger than just getting shot at by two different people? And he was just like, across the street over there is an 18-unit apartment building. And your bullets possibly have killed somebody in that building across the street. Now, keep in mind, bro, I didn't fire one shot. I was like fighting for my life.
Right.
But they was talking to me like I was responsible. And come to find out, y'all partners. And so everything, all the circumstances leads up to everything in the police department. And so they was looking at us like, you guys are, so they took us, they separated us, they took our guns from us, separated us, put us in the back of two different squad cars. And I remember sitting in that squad car, bro, I had to sit there while they went to every single unit to make sure that nobody was in that building dead. So now, bro, half of my mind was already nervous and still trying to figure out what just took place, with me getting shot at. Then the other half of me was nervous, like, man, somebody's possibly dead. And this is all because we were just chasing some kids. And so, but while I was sitting in that squad car, Vondale, the craziest thing happened to me. There was a lot of things that happened. Like I said, that day I didn't get killed. I didn't die, but my mind changed forever. The way that I knew life, the way that I viewed life changed. And when I was sitting in the back of that squad car, bro, I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, I could have just lost my life. Like, what would have happened to my wife? What would have happened to my family? What would have happened to my way of life? Like, I didn't have nothing together. Like, I realized that I was falling into that track, that trick that I tried so hard throughout my life to not do. Just that 9-to-5 trick. Get up, go to work, pay bills, come home. Get up, go to work, pay bills, come home. I realized at that moment, brother, that I never really even lived. Here it is. I was almost about to die and I didn't even really live. And so I said, man, something got to change, God. When I get out of this, something got to change. And not just change, mentally, physically, all around. I have to change. Because if not, this is how my life is going to be. I'm still in my first year of my career, and I'm going through this. And I'm supposed to work this job for the next 30 years? So, man, at that moment, man, nobody was shot. Nobody was found dead. But I said that the person that died that day was the old Jemal, the old mindset Jemal had.
Talk, brother.
So they were looking for a person dead inside of that building, but the person that died was inside of the back of the squad car. Because at that very moment, I said, I was done. I was done. And see, Vondale, this is the thing I want somebody out here to really remember. Being done does not mean being finished.
Yeah.
See, some of y'all out there would have quit your job. Y'all would have been gone. Y'all would have gave them back that badge, that gun, and a heartbeat. In that very second, they opened up that squad car. But I was done with the mindset that I'm going to let this job take care of me for the next 30 years. I had to remind myself the reason why I wanted to be a millionaire is not because I wanted a job to take care of me, but because I wanted to take care of everybody else.
Okay.
And so that way, at that very moment, I still didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know what vehicle. I didn't know nothing. All I knew was that something needed to happen.
Yeah.
And so it was at that moment, man. And then that's when a buddy of mine, who I said played in the NFL, he called me up and was like, Jay, I heard you got shot. And I was like, man, I didn't get shot. I got shot at, And he was like, bruh, anytime you want to get away, man, you can come to Baltimore and man, come, just stay at my house or whatever, just get away. He said, anytime, you got an open invitation. I remember saying, bro, I'm gonna take that invitation to you like now. I was like, God, now.
So this is your homeboy that's playing in the NFL.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so yeah, bro. So I went, took off, man, drove to Baltimore to go visit him, man. And he lived in a gated community. Now in Chicago, remember I was used to just living around blue collar workers. I grew up in a blue collar community, and I never stepped outside of my community. In Chicago, growing up in the 80s, it was certain areas you couldn't go to.
That's right.
There was certain communities you could never even go to. Couldn't even step foot in these communities being a black man. And so the only exposure that I ever really got was what I saw, like I said, lifestyles of the rich and famous. But when I went and visited my friend, when I got to that, when I pulled up, bro, to that gated community, it was, dog, bro, it's still today, at this very moment, the amount of exposure that came on me was so thick. It was so heavy, bro, that I couldn't forget it. I'm talking about, man, I pulled up. I never even knew communities were gated. I never seen a gated community before. And a jail guard came out, Vondale, and not the jail guard. I'm thinking of police. The guard came out at the gated community, and he came out and he wanted to make sure he check off your name because they don't just let anybody go in there. And bro, I was driving a 1993 Chevy Blazer, and so they really wanted to check me out. Like, who is this guy coming in here? And when he checked my name off, bro, and it's like, okay, I see you here, And when I got through those gates, it was almost like going into the gates of heaven, bro. I'm talking about, bro, on my whole ride to Baltimore from Chicago, it was thunderstorming, it was lightning, it was raining. The second I passed through them gates, Vondale, it was like the rain just stopped. It was like the sun came out. It was a different world, bro. Yeah. I'm talking about, Vondale, the birds that was in that community was singing a different song. Yeah. They was just chirping, dog. They was chirping chirps I ain't never heard before. I'm talking about, man, the house was lined with mansions, man. They had manicured lawns. I remember seeing like little kids, man. They had plaid outfits, man, walking to school. The women in the community was walking the neighborhood, man, and just they were grouped up, exercising and just walking in the neighborhood. They had mansions, 10,000 square foot mansions. Bro, I didn't even get to my guy's house yet. And the exposure was so heavy on me. It made a lasting impression in my mind and my heart. And the crazy part about it, bro, everything I saw that day, here it is, man. Everything I saw that day, I now have. Yeah. I now have everything I saw. My kids, them kids that was walking the neighborhood with the plaid outfits, bro. My children, unconsciously, my children go to a school that's got the same plaid outfits.
Exposure. Yes, sir.
Oh, man. My wife, man, I remember the women I talked about that was walking around that community, and it was on a weekday. They should have been at work. Yeah. They should have been at work from 9 to 5. But instead, they was sitting around walking in the neighborhood, man, like they was having a great time. Unconsciously. Yeah. I retired my wife from her job at the age of 22.
Wow.
Those mansions, bro, 10,000, 15,000 square foot mansions. I ain't never seen that before. I came from a community that had 1,200 square foot houses.
Right.
Unconsciously, I now live in an 18,600 square foot house.
Come on.
Bro, I always tell people, Vondale, your level of exposure will determine your level of success.
Hey, write that down. The level of exposure will determine the level of success. Talk about it, brother.
What are you getting exposed to? And see, the thing about it, you guys got to be careful on who you're hanging with. You got to be careful because exposure happens good or bad. Remember in the beginning, I told you I come from a family of cops and criminals. Everybody, we all got the same blood. But the criminals make the decision to be the criminal and the cop made the decision to be the cop. It's all about exposure. Your level of exposure determines your level of success. Let me tell you something. I ain't never been a speaker a day in my life. Never been a speaker. I was in a squad car. And now I'm traveling the world speaking on stages in front of thousands of people, all because I'm connected to the #1 motivational speaker in the world. I've been exposed to him. I've been exposed to his mentality. I've been exposed to the rhythm of speaking. I've been exposed to this gift that I didn't even know I possessed. That's why it's important. Imagine if I would have hung around drug dealers. I would have been exposed to that. So I would have thought selling drugs was the way to make it in life. That's why you got to get outside of your surroundings. You got to get outside of your environment sometimes. You got to step outside. You got to go after exposure. Like how somebody that's in a desert would try to go after water.
That's right.
Exposure. Exposure is everything. It's how can you even imagine that you want to go somewhere in life unless you first seen it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where are you going?
Yeah.
You are going only based off of what you've seen. And when I ask people all the time, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? They basing that thought on what they've seen. So if I showed you something different, if I exposed you to something different, then you'll want different. And if you want different, you'll do different. And if you do different, you'll have different. It starts all with exposure. What are you being exposed to?
So hold on. I don't want anybody to miss what Jemal is saying here. He's saying that he was in a situation that actually could have cost his entire life doing a job for surviving, right? Doing everything right, and wrong happened. When wrong happened, it created an opportunity for a friend to reach out, right, that he was close with, and say, hey, man, if you want to get out of this situation, come on out to Baltimore. Jemal could have said, you know what, I'm good. But he decided, he made the choice, right, to say, you know what, I'm going to take you up on that offer. When he got there, he talked about being exposed, right? And that exposure got in his brain cells. I always tell you when my mentor invited me to get on my first flight, and it was a flight to California, to Stanford University. He set the bar high. I was exposed. So what did that do for me? I was at a college campus. I saw it at 17. In the next year, I was on a college campus because I enrolled in college. Why? Exposure. And so what did that exposure do for you when you were seeing this? And I believe you talked about going out to dinner, and you talked about the menu. Man. We got to go there, brother.
Yeah. So, man, crazy. Like literally right after that situation of going into the gated community, as soon as I got to my guy's house, he was like, hey, let's go get something to eat. I know you're hungry. You've been on the road. So him and several other football players, NFL guys, they were like, hey, we're going to a steak restaurant. Like, hey, come on with us. And so I hopped in his Bentley, bro, automatically. That was my first time ever in a Bentley. So here it is. I stepped out of a 93 Chevy Blazer and I stepped into a brand new Bentley. Come on, that's what exposure do to you, bro.
Exposure do, yeah.
And so here it is. We drive to this restaurant, and keep in mind now, the only steak restaurant I ever been to, back in Chicago might have been the what's that place called, man? Back in the day, I can't even think of that. I can't think of it, man. But it wasn't really like a steak restaurant. It was like that fake steak, the little chewy steak.
Yes, sir.
It wasn't a real one.
Yeah.
And so the Matson Steakhouse. There you go, Matson Steakhouse. And so we get there, and it was crazy because the manager came outside, and he actually met us outside and walked us to the back room, and I've never had that type of treatment before. So here's more exposure. And then we get to the back room, and everybody that was there, bro, by the time we sat down, before the waitress even brought out the drinks and things like that, the guys was hungry. And they automatically, everybody I'm with, they're millionaires. And I'm a cop, right?
Wow.
Everybody started yelling out what they wanted. Bro, I'm talking about Vondale. They was like, man, I'm going to get that porterhouse steak. Somebody else was like, man, give me that T-bone. Somebody else yelled out, let me get the filet mignon. And then a waiter got around to me and was like, sir, what can I get you? And I was like, bro, I need to see a menu. I was like, I got to see a menu. I'm like, look, I was a police officer making $1,200 every 2 weeks, $2,400 a month. And the steaks or the stuff that was the stuff that they were serving at that restaurant, bro, it could have been like my electricity bill or my gas bill. That could have been a bill if I would have paid for that. So I was like, I need to see a menu. And so it was crazy because everybody started looking, and my boy was kind of embarrassed. And, here it is. I'm with all these 1%ers, all these millionaires, people that know what they want in life, people that's been exposed to a different way of life. And I couldn't make the decision on something simple as far as what I want to eat. So as I'm, my boy hit me up because his other buddies was looking and they hit him up like, hey, man, what's up with your boy? What's up with your boy from Chicago? And my boy hit me and he kind of whispered to me like, Jay, just get what you want, dog. Like we don't do that, dog. We know what we want. Just get what you want. And I was, dog, bro, I was sweating. I'm talking about I was straight up sweating. I was nervous. I really didn't know what I wanted. And then so the waitress finally brought me a menu. And when they brought the menu to me, I'm over here, I'm like shaking. And I'm looking at the menu, and the second I looked at the menu, my eyes went automatically to the right side. And you know what the right side is, right?
Yes, sir.
The right side of the menu is the prices.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would unconsciously look at the right side of the menu. I would look at the prices first. And I would take maybe the top 5 items, not that I wanted, but the top 5 items that I could afford. And then I would make the decision on what I wanted on those items that I could afford. The crazy part is those other guys I was with, they would look to the left side of the menu. They would never even look at the right side. The left side of the menu is just the items. So here it is, I'm going through life. And I didn't just do this in food, I was doing this in life.
Yeah.
I was looking to the right side of the menu of life. I was letting the prices of a thing determine on if I would do it or not. Or I would let the price of a thing determine if I should buy it or not. I wouldn't make a decision because it was the best decision. I was making decisions because it was the cheapest decision.
Wow. Woo!
How many of y'all are doing with your life? How many are going through life making decisions only based off the cost of a decision? See, if you go through life only basing things off the price of it, it will come back and bite you in the butt later on in life. See, 1%ers is all about, man, making the best decision because it's the best decision. If you go through life making best decisions because they are the best decision, imagine the sum total of what your life is going to be in the future. But if you make decisions only based off of the cost of something, imagine what your life is going to be. Imagine what the sum total. You'll be in the negative when you add it all up. And so, bro, that's when I started realizing that I need to live life on the left side of the menu. There's people out here, man, that's really making decisions. They're really living life.
Yeah.
I always say that if you go through life only making decisions on the cost of it, bro, and you doing that, and you got a family, then you're a thief. You're a robber, bro. You are stealing the true experience of life from your family. You're robbing them from the future that they could have. You're robbing them from the true experience of life, man. And you don't even realize that you're doing it. So I'm not telling somebody to live outside your means. I'm saying you have to learn how to get another means about how you live.
That's right.
You got to find another vehicle to get you through this life. Because this vehicle, see, the thing about it is if you got a family, the vehicle that you have cannot be a motorcycle. You can't get through life on a motorcycle if you got a family. Your vehicle got to be large enough to carry any and everybody that you got with you.
That's right.
And sometimes it's best to have a couple extra seats. I like to drive trucks, and I like to get the extended boys. Because sometimes you might along the way have to carry your brother. You might have to carry your parents. You might have to carry somebody close to you. You might have to carry your boys. So live life on the left side of the menu. So now that's what I do. I go through life, man, not saying, I can't afford to send my kids to private school. No, I say, how can I afford to send them to private school? Because their education is important. I can't rob them from the education that they can have. How can I pay for this for my spouse? Because my spouse chose me. My spouse chose me. She took on my last name. Out of all of the millions and millions of people that she could have been with, bro, she decided to marry me. So now it's my duty to make sure that this experience, because that's what life is all about, bro.
That's right.
It's about an experience.
That's right.
How is this vehicle? How is this journey that we taking? How am I treating you? Sometimes, bro, I like to tell people, man, people miss out a lot of times on a real vacation. Bro, when we take a trip somewhere, when we going out the country, you know, the trip is not just when you finally get to the destination. The trip is from the time you leave your house to the time you go on the airport, to the time you on that plane ride, sitting in first class, to the time you land. The trip is the whole trip. It's not just the destination. I think a lot of people miss that. They focusing on just the destination. And that's what's wrong with a lot of blue collar workers, bro. A lot of blue collar workers are just working for 30 years and they're thinking that when I retire, my life is going to be perfect. They're focusing on the destination, but they're missing out on all of these years in between.
Yeah.
They're focusing on the wrong thing, man. So I want people out here to realize, man, that you're living life right now. And you're just not living life for you. You're living life for your family. You're living life for all those that's connected to you.
Yeah.
Live life on the left side of the menu.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen. What Jemal is talking about, in so many words, he's talking about building a legacy. Building a legacy beyond you. He's talking about, like, what you do right now is predicated upon your family, is predicated upon your name, is predicated upon your destiny. And my thing is, there's too many people that's focused on the right now, not realizing that your right now is building your tomorrow. So what are you invested in? You talked about the whole when you came to class. Talk a little bit about the whole.
Before I talk about the whole, because I got to hit on this because you just hit on something.
Yes, sir.
You know, you just hit on something, and I got to let people know this, man. You know, the Jemal that you see in front of you, Vondale talked about everything that I'm doing. And, you know, I got, I don't even know how many real properties I own now. Over 160 something units. You know, got a chain of daycare centers, own a security company. I got one of the top online real estate courses in the country. I'm speaking with the #1 motivational speaker in the world. I don't give none of that credit to the Jemal that's in front of you right now.
Talk about it.
The Jemal that's in front of you right now, bro, is the recipient of who the Jemal was 10, 15 years ago. I always say, and somebody write this down, do it for the future you. Everything that I do is for the future me. So the Jemal, when he was 20 years old, he said, when he's getting shot at, when he was, you know, being a police officer, he said that when I turn 30, I want to live a different kind of way. When I turn 30, I want the mansion just like my boy had. When I turn 30, I want to have my wife sitting up, being able to have freedom, just like those other women had. When I turn 30, I want to be able to have my kids, man, wearing them plaid outfits. I want them to get the best education. Like, I wrote this stuff down, and then I reverse engineered, and I worked towards that. Everything that you're doing today is not going to affect you today, but it's going to affect you in the next 5 to 10 years. What are you doing for the future you? What plans do you have set up for who you're going to become? Because the only way you're going to become this is if you decide on what you want to become today. And see, the thing about it, the thing I love about this kind of mindset is that even though I'm 42 years old right now, and the Jemal you see, I'm fit right now only because the 30-year-old Jemal came up with a workout plan, because he said, when I turn 40, I want to make sure that I'm looking a certain kind of way. But see, this 42-year-old Jemal can't sit back now and say, oh man, the 30-year-old Jemal set me up nice. Let me just chill now and eat food all day long. The 42-year-old Jemal got to work out now because he's not working out for who he is today. He's working out for the Jemal that's going to be 52.
Y'all better hear this.
Everything that you're doing is setting yourself up. So the Jemal that's 42 got a plan for how he want to live at 52. He got a plan. He want to have houses in other countries. He got a plan. He want to be able to pay for his grandkids' tuition. He got a plan. He want to be able to travel the world first class or on a private jet. So the Jemal that's at 42 got to work towards that right now. Everything I'm doing right now is to set him up. What are you doing for yourself? How are you setting yourself up? Nothing just happens. You don't just wake up one day and become a millionaire. You don't just wake up one day and be on the stage with the #1 motivational speaker in the world. You just don't wake up. It just don't happen that way. Everything you're doing, and that's why it's so important. That's why time is your greatest asset, not money. A lot of y'all chasing time, a lot of y'all are chasing money, but you're wasting time.
Come on.
It should be the opposite way. You should be chasing your time. Somebody asked to borrow $50 from you, you'll go crazy. But they'll sit up with you and say, hey, come on over to the house and let's play video games for 3 to 4 hours. And you will say, oh man, let's do it. Your time is your greatest asset, not your money. And that's where this whole thing is. When I was in a hole, when the police department, we call this thing where, we get a lot of free time. And this free time we call it the hole. It's where you get away from the public's eye, Vondale. It's where you just like, hey, I'm gonna, if it's nobody on the radio calling, it might be snow outside. And so we ain't getting no calls, it's downtime. And during this time is when you can read books, you can watch movies, you can be on social media, you can be on the phone talking. Some officers, bro, they go to sleep. A lot of officers, y'all see officers in the hole all the time when you drive up to Dunkin' Donuts and they just chilling in Dunkin' Donuts, eat donuts and drinking coffee. They in the hole. But see, what I realized after I got back from Baltimore with my friend, I realized that and I was cool in the hole in the beginning. I was thinking this is sweet. I'm like, man, I get to sleep. I get to watch movies. Man, I'm getting over. But what happened was I really wasn't getting over. The joke was on me. Because what I was doing, I was wasting time. After I got back from being with these 1%ers, with these millionaires, I realized that time is your greatest asset. And they value time more than they valued money. And so I realized, though, a lot of police officers was wasting time in the hole. And it was that shift in that mindset. I said that if I ever want to transition and get everything that I was exposed to, that I have to change my time. I got to change how I utilize my time. And so it was then at that point, bro, where I stopped watching movies. I stopped playing video games. I stopped being on social media. I stopped sleeping. And then this is when I started to read books on real estate investing. I started to take a lunch break. And during my lunch break, I would work out because I wanted to work on my body. I said that when I become a millionaire, I no longer said if I become a millionaire, I got my vision back again. See, a lot of you guys got sight, but you don't have vision. Sight is what you see in front of you. Vision is what you see 10 years from now. And that's why in order to do it for the future, you got to learn how to develop your vision. Vision. The Bible teaches us that people without vision is dead. They will perish. You have to have a vision for your life. And that's why you see everything that I have. So you got to have a vision. Write that down. And then you gotta utilize your time. You gotta respect your time. You gotta learn how to utilize your time the right way when you're in a hole. And the hole for you might be just, when everybody right now, what's going on in the world, they said, hey, we got this quarantine. And so you gotta sit in your house. Don't use that time to play video games. Some of y'all that's playing sports that got dreams of making it to the league, use this time to work out. Separate yourself from the competition right now. That's what the hole is when normally you have downtime. That's when you take this time and you make the most of it. Normally when you have what people call free time, that's when you take this time and make the most of it. Because see, free time is really not free. Free time should be called expensive time. Because if you don't utilize it the right way, bro, it will come back and it will bite you in the butt.
Yes, sir.
And so when I was in a hole, bro, this is when I started looking at properties. This is when I started driving around, and when everybody else was asleep, I would go into these properties. And then by the time I got out of got off work, I would put my contracts in, my offers in on some of these properties. It was in a hole, bro. When I came up with every business plan that I had for all of these businesses, it was in the hole. It was in a hole. And I always say this, and y'all write this down. What I noticed over the years is that whatever a person did in the hole, they became.
Wow. Hold on. Pause 1 second. I want to give you time to write this down. Whatever a person did in the hole, they became.
They became. So you had police officers that was watching movies all the time. Guess what? They became expert in movies. They became experts. They could tell you didn't even have to watch you didn't even have to watch the little intros they have of movies or the samples or whatever, bro. All you had to do is go up to certain officers and ask them, hey, did you watch this movie? They tell you all about that movie. But see, the thing about it is being an expert on movies didn't do nothing for their family, man. It didn't position their kids no kind of way. It didn't position them any kind of way. And the crazy part is 20 years 20 years later now, some of those same officers are still on the job. Here it is, these guys might have had a 5 to 10 year head start on me on the job. And then now they're still on the job. Why? Because they wasted their time watching movies. Some of the people was playing video games. So guess what? They became masters at video games. But guess what? They still on the job to this day. They still working. Them video games didn't change their life, not one bit. See, being in a hole just ain't about being productive. It's about being productive on something that's gonna change your life. It's about being productive on the vision that you said that you wanted for your life. But if you don't claim or have a vision for what you want in your life, then you're not going to be productive. You're just wasting time. And time never stops. Some of you guys right now are young and you think you're going to live forever. You think you got time. So did the people that passed away from this COVID-19. You don't never know. You can't sacrifice. You can't waste not another minute. You don't know. It's nothing, no expiration date that's on the back of your neck or on a tag on your shirt. Nothing comes and says how long you're going to live. You don't know. That's why you have to wake up every single day with a passion. You got to wake up with a certain kind of dog to work towards that vision that you got for your life. But if you don't have that vision, then you'll never wake up and work towards anything.
Vision. I hear you saying vision a whole lot. You can have sight, but no vision. And it's really important that you visualize the images that you want to see yourself in. So that's why we talk about being born to win. That's a decision, right? It's a mindset. And the 1%ers have that same mindset. I'm going to go out and get it, irregardless of my circumstance, irregardless of my situation, irregardless black, white, rich, poor. I'm born in the hood. Now, you coming from Chicago. I always tell people you can make it in Chicago, you can make it anywhere in the world. Yeah. But the thing is how well you make it. Some people making it, but they barely making it. They're surviving. But then you go from surviving to thriving, right? And so I think like the mindset that we have to have, Jemal, I got to ask a question. We've been asking all of our guests this question. Yeah. If you had a billboard with words on it and millions, maybe even billions of people will see it, what words would you write on that billboard?
All things are possible to him who believes. All things. Bro, that one scripture right there, all things. Somebody on the other end of this camera might say, well, how could I make it? How could I get out of the hood? You know, my grandma was in the hood. My mama was in the hood. My daddy was in the hood. I'm born in the hood. I can't make it. All things are possible. All things. Well, I don't have a way to go to college. You know, I don't have, I don't have money. I don't come from wealth. I can't get a scholarship. How can I make it? All things are possible. The answer, somebody might be on here saying, hey, my marriage ain't working. Man, my wife is crazy. Man, bro, I'm ready to leave, man. I'm about to leave, man. I just can't do it. I tried, man. I'm ready to give up. All things are possible.
Y'all heard it. All things are possible.
Bro, it could have said some things. It could have said 50% of things. It could have said a third of things. All things are possible. Bro, you just got me motivated. I might actually just put up a billboard to just say that.
I know that's
all
right.
All things are possible.
All things are possible.
Somebody got to know that. Somebody got to know that. You got to just not know it, bro. You got to believe that.
Yes, sir.
You got to believe it. Put it up on your wall. Write it down. Put it up on your wall. Create a vision board and write that down. No matter what you're going through in life, you got to know and you got to believe that all things are possible.
All things are possible. And Jemal, he said a little bit earlier, he never imagined that he would be going around the world speaking to thousands of people. Especially with our good brother, our mentor, Dr. E.T. Got CJ, got Carl. They doing a Secrets to Success podcast. He's a fixture on the podcast. But just talk about that experience. What is it like for you using your gift that you never thought you would use one day to speak life into people? What is that like?
Yeah, it's bro, I done made millions. And look, bro, the amount of money that's been made, I can't even tell you the total amount. I don't know. And not $1 has given me the joy or has given me the feeling or the gratitude that I get from pouring into people and speaking life into people. You can't even put a price on it. You can't even, when you walking in your purpose, and the crazy thing about it is every vehicle that I've had has brought me to this point. Every single vehicle, bro. Every single vehicle, man. I you know, I said that I wanted my destination to be a millionaire. But when I was claiming that God had a destination for me also, God knew that I was going to be called one day the 9 to 5 millionaire. See, that's why I didn't make it to the NFL. But now, bro, I'm speaking to the NFL.
Wow.
It's God had a bigger plan, and it's just like I said, and it's so crazy. One day I'll sit back and really be able to grasp the whole everything that's taking place in my life. And it's kind of hard a lot of times to see the picture when you in it, but right now, bro, it's amazing when you just look back over your life. And that's why I tell people, man, it's important to keep moving, because bro, I went from the squad car to the stage. Man. It's people that train their whole life and try to become a speaker. It's people, man, it's thousands and thousands of people trying to speak with Eric Thomas. Trying to speak to Eric Thomas, and Eric Thomas reached out to me.
Yes, sir.
It's a crazy thing, man. It's a humbling experience, but it's just, dog, and that's why I'm so big on people staying ready. A lot of y'all out there, that's why you have to stay ready in life, because you never know when your opportunity is going to come. You got to be in a great place. You got to be in a great position. You got to physically, imagine if I stopped working out, and imagine if all of a sudden, the opportunity came. And then now all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, I'm about to be in front of thousands of people. I need to lose 40 pounds. Imagine if I wasn't right within myself, within my spirit, man. Now all of a sudden, oh man, I got an opportunity. Let me try to get in good with God. Imagine if I wasn't right with my wife, my family, if I was estranged from my children. Oh man, I don't want nobody to know. I'm over here speaking to this to people. Let me try to find some. Let me try to get in good with my kids again. Come on, man. Be ready. Stay ready.
That's right.
Stay ready. Position yourself. Yeah, the opportunity in life, it might seem like it's not in front of you right now, but just because it's not present in front of you right now, don't mean that it ain't already taking place.
That's right.
See, speaking with Eric Thomas didn't just start last year. It started, man, 20 years ago for me. Because my story that I'm speaking on is everything that I've been through. See, your story is already happening right now. You're going through your story right now. So that's what I'm saying. So don't just go through it, grow through it. Yeah. Grow through everything that you're going, because every situation, every circumstance, everything you go through right now is going to make you who you're going to become one day.
Listen, guys, listen. I don't know if you tuned in to what's going on. This man is pouring in words of wisdom, right? And it's not talking about something that he read from a book, something that he got from a teacher, a lesson. This is his lifestyle. And here's the thing. Jemal made a decision that this is the lifestyle that he wanted to have. And so he went out there, and he's going out there every single day to do it, to grind for it. And listen, everybody here, I want you to remember the billboard words that Jemal put. All things are possible. And I believe the B part of that scripture, to him that believes, or to whom that believes. Yeah. You must have faith with corresponding action. You can't just say that you want it without putting in the work. The work has to precede the faith, or it's not faith. It's like the body without the spirit. They dead. So you have to make sure that you take the words that Jemal is saying and start to apply them today. Today, your life can change forever, right? And so, Jemal, I just want you, man, to just tell us like what's some books or some things that you chew on that you can give us that we can start to put into work and use.
Yeah, I would have to definitely, man, say that I got to start with the Bible. The Bible is undefeated. Just about every book, self-help book, motivational book, inspiration book has been based off of the Bible. And so you can just say, you ain't got to go reading the whole Bible. Just go to Proverbs, just go to Proverbs. And Proverbs is like almost like the instructions of life. For a man or a young woman, it's like the instructions. It's telling you exactly how to make it through life. Another book that kind of changed my mindset was Think and Grow Rich. Yeah, Think and Grow Rich was something that kind of made me say, whoa. I got to say, man, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
And then he had a second book called Cashflow Quadrant. That kind of got my mindset to thinking about how the poor we focus on liabilities while the rich focus on assets. Another book is by O.G. Mandingo, the Greatest Salesman. And then you got the Richest Man in Babylon. These are some other books. So, yeah, man, those are definitely some books that kind of, change my mindset. And that's all it is. It starts in the mind. It starts in the mind. I would say before you go buying any book on real estate, before you go buy any book on stock market or finances, I will say you need to have books on the mindset first that speaks to the mind, because you can get all of this wealth and lose it tomorrow if your mind is not right. So it's the mindset first. That's the foundation. In real estate, whenever I'm building a house, the first thing that I focus on is the foundation. You get some people in real estate, they come into a property, the first thing they looking at is the light fixtures. They're looking at the paint. They looking at the carpet. They looking at, the faucets. Yeah. All of those things are interchangeable. You can change those things out. You can change out the light fixture. You can change out the window treatments. You can change out the paint color. You can change those things out at any time. But the thing that you cannot change out is the foundation of the house. And so a lot of times people put the focus on the wrong thing. And so that's why when you dealing with your mindset, that's the foundation of everything that you're going to go through. And so that's why you want to focus more so on the foundation first and the finances second.
Excellent. So tell us real quick, how did you get the name, the 9 to 5 Millionaire? And tell us, Making Real Estate Real, what that's all about and how folks can get involved.
So the 9 to 5 Millionaire is crazy because, I've always been a 9 to 5 millionaire. I used to go to work as a police officer, and the police department, we get our checks in a box. Well, before they did direct deposit, they used to give us our checks in a box, and they would put them in alphabetical order. And I was making so much money from real estate, Vondale, and I was like 26 years old, that I would leave like 7 or 8 of my checks in there. I just wanted to, it took too much time to go to the bank and cash my checks. And so I would just leave them in a box. I would just say, I'm gonna leave my checks in the box. I get them when I got at least about 7 to 10 checks. And then I would go to the bank and then cash like 7 to 10 checks. And my lieutenant one day, his last name was Cook, with a K though, not C, but a K. And so I'm King. And so his checks was right next to mine. And he was making way more money than me, but I had way more money than him in that box because I had several checks. And he pulled me to the side one day, called me in his office. And he had my checks all together, and he tossed them on the table, and he was kind of like, King, what are you doing? You think you're a millionaire or something? What are you doing? You think you're a millionaire? You don't have to cash your checks. You got people out here that work hard every day, and they go and they have 2 to 3 jobs, and they work hard, and it's like a slap in the face that you're not cashing your checks. And he's just like, you think you're a millionaire. And I was like, you know what? Wow. And I was in my police uniform. I was like, wow, I am a millionaire. I was like, I am a millionaire. But wow. I didn't get the title, So I was always a millionaire since the age of 26 as a police officer, but I didn't get the title 9-to-5 millionaire until I told my story to CJ. And CJ, who's the branding expert, he's the man behind Eric Thomas. He branded me, branded Eric. He's just the branding guru. And we like to call him the Phil Jackson. If E is Michael Jordan, I think I might be, I don't know, Scottie Pippen or Dennis Rodman, I don't know. And and CJ would be Phil Jackson, but he's just like he's like the coach behind everything. And he branded me. He was like, bruh, he was like, and I was telling him the same story I told you about the checks, about my lieutenant. And then C was like, bruh, you the 9-to-5 millionaire for real. And I was like, And then that name just stuck, and everybody started calling me the 9-to-5 millionaire. And it's crazy because that name has been with me my whole life, as a 9-to-5er and as an investor. But it took CJ to actually take that and stick it on, put it on me.
You were born for it. It fits you perfectly, brother. The 9-to-5 millionaire. That's who I see. It's like Jemal King, 9-to-5 millionaire. Everybody know you as the 9-to-5 millionaire now. That's like one of the coolest nicknames of all time, bro.
It's almost like an oxymoron. If you work a 9-to-5, you can't be a millionaire. Most millionaires don't work 9-to-5s. And I'm like, well, I guess, it's me.
The best of both worlds. You can go in any room at any time in the world and relate to anybody.
I love it because, I'm still blue collar. I got the blue collar values. I'm still, it's inside of me. And yet I still got the millionaire's mindset.
Yes, sir.
I got the blue collar values, the blue collar grit, but I got the millionaire mindset. You put the two together, you got the 9-to-5 millionaire.
Yep. And he's doing the make real estate real. So tell us a little bit about that and how people can get involved with that.
Yeah. So, and that was another thing from CJ. He wanted me to, he was like, bro, you got to teach people this. It's crazy, Vondale. I got started in real estate, not really to become a millionaire, but I just didn't want to pay bills, And so I coined the term that I bought a building for every bill that I had.
A building for every bill.
I bought a building for every bill. So every bill that I had, I wrote down. I did this when I was in a hole. I wrote down, what is the cost of me? How much does it cost to be me? What's my monthly lifestyle? How much? Everybody got a number to it. Where this is how much my house costs. This is how much my car note costs. This is how much my kids' childcare costs. This is how much our groceries cost. What's your monthly lifestyle cost? And the reason why it was so important to me was because if anything ever happened to me again, if I lost my life or if I lost my job, I wanted to make sure that passively I had enough to cover the expenses of our lifestyle. And so I wrote down exactly what's the cost to me. And I said, I'm gonna buy a building to cover every single expense. So after I purchased this property and paid the mortgage, paid the expenses to it, the money that's left over is the net income that comes back to me. I would take that net income and I will put that towards my house note. I will purchase another property, put that towards my car note, purchase another property, put that towards my wife's, replace her salary. And so I use the power of real estate to cover my lifestyle. And then I didn't just come up with the current cost to me, I came up with the future cost to me also. So I said, if it worked and it covered my current lifestyle, what could it do for my future lifestyle? What kind of house, my dream life, what kind of house, could I live in? And I can get, how much real estate would that take to cover that dream house that I want? How much would it cost if my kids went to the #1 school in the state? How much would that tuition cost? And how many properties would I need to cover that expense? So that's what I did. And I came up with that and I put it in a course. CJ had me put it in a course so that I could share this mentality with everybody. So now that it's just not one 9-to-5 millionaire, but it'll be millions across the country. And that's what Make Real Estate Real is all about. It's about making real estate real for you. It's about utilizing the power of real estate to get you whatever it is in life you want to get. I tell people all the time, Vondale, you're one property away. You're one property away from retiring from your job. You're one property away. One property away from living the dream life, traveling whatever vacations you want to travel to. You're one property away from living in the house that you want to live in. You no longer got to wait for somebody to promote you. You no longer need to wait for somebody to like you on your job. Promote yourself and buy a property. And that's what Make Real Estate Real teaches you.
Wow. And so there you hear it. And on the screen, you're going to see his website and how to follow him on social media. But give us some last words, Jemal. Take us home.
Man, just going back, bro, on that all things are possible. You know, I need y'all to like really believe. When I say really believe, I need you to believe this like you never believed nothing in your life before. This is the foundation. This is where it all starts. Success and failure both starts in the mind. So I need you to believe. I need you to look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that all things are possible to him who believes. And then I need you to say, I believe. And then whatever it is that you believe, write it down after that. All things are possible to him who believes, and then say, I believe that this is possible. And write what that this is. Write it down. Create the vision and make it plain. Write the vision down and make it plain so that he who may read it may run with it. Nobody's going to be able to come in your life and help you until you help yourself and declare what it is that you want help with. It all starts right there with writing it down. I'm sitting here telling y'all this is the best advice I could give to you. All things are possible. Go after it. The world is waiting on you to become who you're supposed to become. It's crazy, Vondale. You had Pastor Hannah on here last week.
Yep.
And one thing that I heard, and this is the first time I ever heard this, I heard this in church one Sunday, and I felt like Pastor Hannah was talking to me. I literally felt like he was talking to me, bro, when Pastor Hannah said, oh, one man's obedience is connected to so many other people's destiny. I've never heard that before until I heard Pastor Hannah say this years ago, maybe 10 years ago in church. He said, one man's obedience is connected to so many other people's destiny. So many other people's destiny. It's somebody that's watching this right now. And because of your obedience, it's somebody that's waiting on you to be the best version of you so that they could be the best version of them. Just think about it. Just right here, just in within an organization, within Champs, just think about it. Vondale had a mentor. This mentor, his obedience, because of his obedience, he could have pushed Vondale off to the side and said, I ain't got time to mess with you, kid. But because of his obedience, this one man's obedience, look what it did to Vondale. And then look at how many people Vondale has touched. One man's obedience is connected to so many other people's destiny. The world needs you. The world needs you to be the best version of them, to be the best version of you so that they could be the best version of them.
Well, listen, everybody, you were tuning in to the Born to Win podcast. I told y'all. I told you we wasn't playing. Now you can unleash your seatbelt, get up out your seat, and get to work. Why? Is because you wrote it down, you made it plain. Write the vision and make it plain. Why? So that he that read can run. Your life right now, right, has so many souls connected to it. And so get up, get focused, get in the game, and go all in. And so I want to thank our special guest, Jemal King, my brother. I love you, sir. You inspire me. I thank God for him bringing you to this world to make us all better. I appreciate all the things that you've done behind the scenes, and I want to say that publicly. I know you don't do it to get your name called out, but I really, 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 really appreciate it. I appreciate ET connecting us and all that was connected to mentorship.
Absolutely.
And now we on this journey together. And all we want to do is improve lives, provide safe spaces, and provide other opportunities for our city. And so you heard it here. You can make it out of Chicago. You can make it anywhere in the world. And remember, you're born to win in every situation in life. The Chicago be screaming all that.